Hello, my name is Lauren Bass, and I am the Recruitment and Marketing Coordinator for the Graduate School here at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. Today, I will be discussing how to understand the best fit for your graduate school experience. A big thing that's important to me is for students to understand that a great way to explain selecting the best fit for a graduate program is just like thinking about the way how you like your favorite pair of jeans to fit. So we all can have good genes. It's very important that you understand not all graduate programs are designed the same. And so there should be specific things that you're looking for in terms of what's going to help you be successful at that particular institution in that particular program and how that's going to help propel your career. So, two things. This presentation is going to be relevant because one, I'm going to teach you how to create a serious application based on what faculty members are looking for in terms of the letters of recommendation, the personal statement, just overall what's going to make you stand out above other applicants. But then also, again, we're here to talk about the fit of a program or institution in terms of your success in graduate school. My top three tips. One, I always recommend that students reach out to faculty members and graduate schools in the program that they're interested in just to begin building a relationship, but also understand the ins and outs of a program. It's very big to understand if you reach out to a school as a prospective student and it's hard to get them to reply to your emails. You have to do a lot of follow-ups before you begin to get replies. That can be very indicative to what your experience will be like as an enrolled student. But if you reach out as a prospective student and they're really great about responding and keep you in the loop with everything, that is also indicative to how well you'll do in that program. So reaching out to faculty members and building that relationship in advance can help you make solid decisions on if this institution and this program will help you in terms of your career success in graduate school and beyond. Speaking to current graduate students is important because they're going to give you the real deal Holyfield. They're going to let you know the ins and outs of the program, how they're doing, and just some things that you should know to be prepared for that program. Tip number two, your personal statement is about your career, not so much about who you are as a person. You want to be able to discuss your career goals, how you plan on using a particular graduate degree. You want to keep it very focused on, how you are going to be successful in your career and why you need this degree in order to propel your career opportunities. The personal statement allows you to give some details if you have like not so great grades, if you have some gaps in your educational experience, maybe you took some time off from school, maybe you started working and you're going to take some gap years before you go to graduate school. That's a great time to use that personal statement to just kind of explain who you are and any gaps that may be present in your resume. I also like to let students know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It is great to have a dream school, but it's also important to understand that some schools have a capacity. So maybe your dream school gets an average of 2,000 applications, but they only have 25 spots. What are you going to do? You don't want to pigeonhole yourself to saying, if I don't get into this school, I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's always best to have maybe a top 5 schools that you want to apply for, because it's important to know that a graduate school application is not something that you're just going to complete in one day. It takes a lot of work. It takes some time to craft a quality graduate school application. So by applying to multiple programs, you're giving yourself a higher possibility of being admitted into a great program. And another way to look at it is if you attend things like the session today or virtual graduate school fairs or even physical graduate school fairs, you may have the opportunity to receive an application fee waiver. And applying to graduate schools can be costly. Here at UTC, our application is $35 for domestic students, $40 for international students. But a previous institution that I worked at, the application fee was $75. So if you imagine applying to 5 schools and you have such a large range, that can be very costly. So attending virtual presentations, physical events, and being able to receive application fee waivers also works in your benefit when it comes to applying to multiple programs. All right, now to understand fit, the first thing you have to do is evaluate yourself. So some self-reflection is very important. What are your interests? Maybe you have 2 interests in terms of you would like these as concentrations. Or maybe you are looking for a program with interdisciplinary studies so that you don't have to just pick one thing, you get to blend 2 things together. It's important to know that and stick to that. If you know that in your career you want a concentration and you don't necessarily want a general degree, that's fine. When you begin your search for a graduate program, that's something that you need to be aware of as you are researching these programs, what your interests are and how you plan on using this degree to help you in your career. It's also important to understand how solid is your foundation. When I say your foundation, I'm referring to your GPA, I'm referring to your test scores, I'm referring to your resume. For me, when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, as a senior, I was screaming, C's get degrees. Do not ask me my GPA if you don't ask your doctor their GPA. It's irrelevant. I am where I am. So it's important to know that like I didn't have a strong foundation when it came to my GPA, and I was not a great test taker. So I understood that I was going to have a really strong application in order to get into graduate school. I actually did not get admitted into my graduate program the first time I applied because the program application was GPA and GRE scores. Well, I just told you that I wasn't a great test taker, and I just told you that I said C's get degrees. So I didn't get admitted. I wasn't upset, but I was like, I know what my career goal is. How do I get to the goal that I'm trying to reach? And I knew that the entry of barrier was I had to have a master's degree to get into my field. Just so happened that the following year, they adjusted the application requirements and they created a holistic package. So now I had the chance to create a personal statement. I was able to submit letters of recommendation. I was able to submit my resume. And so now my foundation showed the whole picture of who I was, not just that piece of academic, can she take a test and regurgitate information? And then also in line with strong letters of recommendation, it's very important to pay attention to who is able to speak on your behalf based on your analytical thinking, your critical thinking skills, your ability to work independently, your ability to work in a team environment. These are all things that faculty members for graduate school programs want to know about you. And so if you're applying to a program in STEM, you might not want your Spanish or your French professor to write that letter of recommendation. Granted, yes, you may have gotten a phenomenal grade in that class, but how relevant is that particular letter of recommendation to where you're trying to go? On average, you may have to submit at least 2 letters of recommendation. Sometimes you get third as an optional. So if you want to have a supervisor write one, your Spanish or faculty professor write one, that would be great for that third letter recommendation. But your top 2, based on what you're trying to do, you want to get 2 faculty members that can really speak on certain things that other faculty members in a graduate program would want to know about. It's also a great question to ask when you are networking with faculty members at other institutions. Do you have any preferences of who writes these letters of recommendation? Are there specific things you're looking for? So it's important that while you are currently in undergrad as a junior or a senior, you begin to start building relationships with faculty members and letting them know who you are, what your career goals are, and that you plan to go to graduate school so they can be prepared to write you a strong letter of recommendation. Now that you've assessed yourself, it's time to evaluate the program. Again, it's a relationship. You see some jeans that you like, you want to try them on. You want to make sure they fit you the way you want them to fit. Because I don't know about you, but I keep my jeans for a very long time. I wear them out. So this is how you need to be considering the graduate school program. Yes, graduate school is not a lifetime commitment, but it can truly positively impact your career for a lifetime. So evaluating the program, that area of specialization is very important. Do you want a concentration? Are you looking for a general, program? It's important to understand what they offer. Research compatibility with faculty members. In most instances, when you go to a program's website, they're going to list who the faculty members are, and the faculty members have a bio. You should read that bio. It's going to tell you about them, what they researched, what they studied, where they went to school. And now you have a better opportunity of saying in your personal statement, oh, I'm very interested in this, and I would love the opportunity to work with this faculty member or this faculty member. If you list faculty members in your personal statement, do not list one person. You always want to list at least two, just in case one person does not have the ability to take on a new student. It is not a requirement to list faculty members that you're interested in working with or being paired with. But if you do not pigeonhole yourself to just one person. Because if you list one person and that person does not have the space to be able to take on another student, you actually might not get admitted into that program. That's also another question to ask in terms of when you're reaching out to faculty members at other institutions when it comes to, compatibility and being paired with advisors. Is it important to list someone in that personal statement or throughout your application? Is there going to be a part where they ask you to select, any faculty that you're interested in working with? Also, again, interdisciplinary study, the ability to research in multiple areas. What does this institution have to offer you? Some other things to pay attention to is, what is the alumni network like? You may want to know job placement based on what you're interested in, maybe physical therapy or occupational therapy. A lot of programs list when their students got a new job or, what their job placement rates were like. So these are great opportunities to understand how to evaluate a program and if it's going to fit you and your needs. Hope I'm not talking too fast. A few questions that you need to be able to address in terms of your career goals. This is important because this helps give you that foundation for your personal statement. And if it's not a personal statement, you may have essay questions or you may have an interview. So there are different ways in which graduate programs take their time to get to know their candidates, and understanding your career goals is extraordinarily important. A few questions that you may want to ask: what program is going to best fit my career goals? If you look at job applications, they'll let you know if maybe a master's degree is preferred or required. It'll also let you know if a doctorate degree is preferred or required. Many times it'll tell you concentrations that they're looking for when it comes to applicants. You can begin reviewing this information as a junior or a senior, and that's going to help you understand, okay, if I want to be successful in this career, then this is how I should map out my higher education plans. Some programs, especially in STEM, you can go straight from your bachelor's degree into a doctoral program. You can pick up your master's degree while you're in your doctoral program, but other times you can just go straight to the PhD. And more of the humanities side, like I said, a master's degree was required for me to enter into my field. But when I was ready to get a doctorate degree, many of those applications required me to have a minimum of 3 years of experience in my field before I could apply for a doctorate. So it is very, very, very important to pay attention to job descriptions as well as the details for the programs in which you're interested in, to know the skills and the experiences that they feel like, qualified candidates need to be successful in the programs. It's also significant to be understanding of, do you want a master's degree or a doctorate? When it comes to a doctorate, there are two types. You have your PhD or your EDD. EDD is more so if you're in education, K through 12 or higher education, that's typically an option. And then you have your PhD. Of course, if you're going in law, there's the JD. If you're in medicine, there's MD. But just in this term right here, I'll just keep saying the word doctorate. And then you have masters. So with a master's degree, that's more so industry professionals. It takes about 1 to 2 years for those degrees. If you're going the doctorate route, be prepared for 4 to 7 years of graduate experience. PhDs and things of that nature are very research intensive. So you need to have a strong research background, whether it's summer research experience, working in a lab, research heavy intensive. And a doctorate is more specialized than your typical master's degree. Selecting a program, understanding that fit. It means, are you great with learning online? Do you need a hybrid program where you have the ability to do some work on your own at your own pace online, but you also like being in the classroom and being around other students and having those engaging conversations in person? Or do you need an in-person class? For my master's program, I chose to go to school full-time in person. I had not taken any online classes during my bachelor's degree, so I did not feel comfortable doing a master's program online. I could have considered hybrid, but my best learning style at that time, I needed in person. I needed to be able to engage with everybody in the classroom. And so you need to evaluate what type of program you know you'll be successful in. Also, as you're doing that and you're learning about the different programs you're interested in, are you prepared to go to school full-time, or do you plan on working full-time and taking classes part-time? That's also important because some programs, your top school may require you to be in the program full-time, but if you know you need to work while you're in school, then you have to be prepared to look at other programs and consider your options. Last but not least, application deadlines is extraordinarily important. You have hard deadlines. If someone says the deadline to apply is December 1st, that is the deadline. They will not review new applications after December 1st. If they say December 1st is their priority deadline, they will still review applications, but the people who submitted their application by December 1st will be reviewed first, and they will be considered for funding first. When it comes to funding, that could be graduate assistantships, teaching assistantships, research assistantships, scholarships. So definitely pay attention if there is a priority deadline, because that's where the money resides. When it comes to rolling admission, you can apply to that program all the way up until registration. So maybe, time slips away from you, you're looking at fall, and you don't have time to actually start your application until July, but classes start in August. With a rolling application deadline, you can apply in July, get a decision, and even start in August. So it's truly important to understand these deadlines as you prepare to apply for graduate school. Just a little break. Here is Chattanooga. Let's talk about the application. Again, I told you already, C's get degrees. My test taking was not great. I didn't get in. Now it is generally, common that most people and most programs have a holistic application. Please do not only focus on, oh, but my GPA is this and my GRE scores is this, and I'm not going to truly put a lot of time towards the other aspects of my application. Wrong. You could have a stellar GPA, you could have great test scores, And if your personal statement is poor, someone else who may have a very strong personal statement where they were able to discuss so much about them and tell how they plan on using that degree could get that spot that you were looking for. So please pay attention to the entire application process. Again, do not try to submit an application just in one day. Like, unless you had time to review everything that you would need before it's due, and then you just already are ready and you can just upload everything at one time. This is not an overnight process. Your GPA is important. You don't have to just feel like, oh my God, my overall GPA sucks, but my program GPA is really good. Some programs specifically only look at the program GPA. They understand that sometimes a student might not have done great their first year or their second year in school, but when it comes to the classes that are significant to their degree, you did phenomenal. So that's a great question to ask a faculty member when they're evaluating transcripts. Which GPA are they looking at? The overall GPA or the program GPA? And that goes with the curriculum. They're going to want to pay attention to the grades that you made in your core classes pertaining to your major. They will also ask for your transcript for any institution that you attended. So maybe you took some classes while you were in high school, they're going to want that transcript. Maybe you went to a school before you currently enrolled where you are, they're going to want that transcript. They need to be able to evaluate you as a whole student. So please be prepared to submit all transcripts that from institutions that you've attended. Even if it was just one class, they're going to want that transcript. Standardized scores, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because right now is a perfect time to apply because many institutions have waived GRE scores. Your personal statement, again, sometimes that personal statement may be an essay, the personal statement may be questions within the application, the personal statement could actually be an interview. So as long as you're ready to discuss your goals and how the degree will help you advance in your career, then no matter which format it is, you'll be prepared. Letters of recommendation are important, and then your resume discussing your work experience. It is about the holistic application. It works in many people's favor, to be honest. So this is just a brief timeline of some things that I recommend you do between your junior year and your senior year. As a junior, researching the schools that you're interested in is very important. I like to recommend taking your standardized exams your junior year. As a senior, sometimes you just have so much on your plate. You're job searching, you're preparing for graduate school, you're preparing to graduate. So if you take the GRE or any other exam as a junior, you can gauge, what your scores were and compare it to the average scores at those institutions that you'll be applying to. If you're already within those averages, you may not have to take it again. But if you feel like, I can do better, or I don't really think these scores are competitive, now you've given yourself more time to retake that exam without feeling like so much pressure's on your shoulder. I also believe it's important to make campus visits. Post-COVID, if you can, take as many campus visits to institutions in which you're interested in. Right now, virtual visits are a thing, virtual grad fairs are a thing, but truly engage with the institutions beginning your junior year. As a senior, that's when I say start obtaining those letters of recommendation. When it comes to obtaining your letter of recommendation, if something has a hard deadline, do not give your recommenders that deadline, because if life happens and they miss that deadline, you don't want your application to be incomplete. Always give at least a 2-week buffer. That way, if the recommendation isn't submitted, you can give them a reminder and say, oh, I just want to let you know it's due on such and such a date. I would really appreciate it if you can go ahead and submit that for me. So keep in mind, having that buffer time can truly work in your favor based on the time frame in which these letters of recommendation are due. Some letters of recommendation are an actual letter where they have to type out things. Others will be a link, and it's almost like a Likert scale, and then they're able to leave comments. So it's important to give your recommenders enough time, because you don't know which one it's going to be. And so, you want to give them a chance to be prepared. This is also a time where you can retake any exams, write that personal statement letter, or be prepared to answer those essay questions and apply for external funding. So just in case you're not able to get an assistantship or the institution is not able to give you full funding, but you're able to find external scholarships or things of that nature, your senior year is a perfect time to begin applying for those funds. So going a little bit into GREs, the GRE has 3 parts, but again, right now during COVID, a lot of programs are waiving that requirement. And to be honest, across the nation, there are many institutions and programs that are considering eliminating the GRE as a requirement. So it's very, very, very important that you begin your research as early as possible to see if it's even necessary. You may not have to take it. If you are in a situation where you can submit your application early, and when you submit it early, they're not requiring that exam, then please, put the cards in your favor and submit early. But something that's important to know, no matter when you take it, your test scores are valid for 5 years. So if you take the GRE your junior year, you just need to be mindful of what that date was, because if it's 5 years and 1 day afterwards, by the time your application gets reviewed, those scores are no longer valid. So once you take your exam, I say put on your calendar 5 years from then. It won't really impact you if you plan on going immediately into a graduate program. But if you're planning to take a gap year or just work for a little while before you go to graduate school, keeping in mind when your test scores expire is going to be extraordinarily important. Personal statement. This is a great bread and butter of your application. You get 2 pages. If you go 3, it is very likely that your application will not be read. Keep in mind, if the program is a competitive program, they may get 500 applications, they may get 1,200 applications. Imagine one person having to read 1,200 applications. If they open your document and it's 3 pages, they're not reading it. So 2 pages is what you get. But reality is 2 pages is all you need to be able to discuss who you are and how this degree is going to help you. Tip number 1, be direct. In your first paragraph, they should know I want a blank degree in this, and this is how I plan on using it. Meaning, I want a master's degree in social work with an emphasis in geriatrics, because I want to work in this industry and hopefully obtain the position of this. That is very direct, and it lets them know from the beginning how you are planning to use this degree if you're admitted into this program. And then the rest of the time, now you're being very intentional and interesting in what you plan on doing. What made you want this degree in social work? So that's the main part. Please do not wait until the middle of your essay or the end of your essay to let them know those 3 things. Which degree you're looking for, PhD, master's degree, if it's a concentration, what it actually is in, so what program that degree is going to be in, and what your career goal is. When I did my personal statement, I stated that I wanted a master's degree in higher education leadership because I wanted to be a dean of students. I no longer want to be a dean of students, but at the time of applying, that was pretty much the opening statement, or I had those 3 things in my first paragraph of my personal statement, so that the faculty reading my application knew exactly who I am, what I'm trying to do, and how that degree is going to help propel my career. Letters of recommendation. When you are going to ask someone to do a letter of recommendation, I recommend you providing them a packet of information about yourself, especially if you take time out between going to school. In this packet of information, they're going to need a copy of your resume. If your personal statement is done, include your personal statement. If it's not done, include information about the school in which you're applying to. You also want to give them just some information in terms of, your skill sets, you want them to be able to speak very highly of you in terms of your teamwork, your ability to work independently, your critical thinking skills, your analytical skills, quantitative skills. They need to be able to speak about you, and more than just this person made a good grade in my class. It might even be someone whose class you didn't take. Again, if you're working in a lab and you want the supervisor to be able to discuss some things about you in a letter of recommendation, again, it is so important to give someone a packet of information about you so they have substantial content to really talk about your strengths and opportunities to be successful in a graduate program. Under no circumstances should a family member write your letter of recommendation. It doesn't matter if you're going into the same industry as them. Please do not have a family member write a letter of recommendation on your behalf. Top 5 tips you should know. Number 1, never ask what are the minimum requirements for your program. Ask about the average because you don't want anyone to think that you're just trying to get by. It's important to understand if a program does not have average test scores or average GPA on their website, feel free to ask. But again, ask about the average, not the minimum. Try your very best not to ask questions that are already on the program's website. Again, I already discussed when it's time to research faculty members, how you should go to their bios and learn about the faculty members. It's also important to read the whole website because some programs have an FAQ section. A lot of programs just have so many different pages that they're going to know if the information you're asking for is already on their website. And if it looks like you didn't read the website, they're not going to put a lot of effort into reviewing your application. So please be mindful. Don't ask questions of things that are already on the website. Now, if you're asking for in-depth details about something you read, that's different. But just be mindful of the questions that you're asking as you're building relationships and inquiring about these programs. Again, transcripts will be needed from each institution. Sometimes you can get your transcript for free. Other times you may have to pay to get your transcripts. So it's important that you're prepared to get those transcripts and have them on hand when you are submitting your application. Many times people will review your unofficial transcripts for the review application, and then if they admit you, they will require your official transcripts. So you also need to be mindful of, do you need your unofficial transcripts just for the review of your application, or do you need your official transcripts for them to review your application? Again, try to visit institutions that you're interested in, virtually, in person. It's really, really great to be able to see the resources that you will have at your fingertips, be able to meet faculty members, be able to meet graduate students, and just get the full picture of the institution and the program. And last but not least, priority deadlines are directly correlated with funding opportunities. So those are top 5 tips that you need to know. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. I have my email address here. But yeah, that is, let's see, that's
wonderful.